I recently did an interview with WANE 15 News. They asked a lot of great questions, but only have a short amount of time to cover the housing market on their broadcast. So I set up my own camera to record the whole interview. Check it out here. I hope this information is valuable. And if you have questions about the 2024 housing market and what it means for your home search or your home sale, make sure you reach out.
I keep it real. I keep it real. I keep it real. Just keep it real.
So 2024 forecast, if you could just kind of give the big cliff notes, if you're just kind of making small talk with someone, say, hey, this is what we expect in the year to come, what are you telling that person?
Yeah, well, the crash everyone was hoping for in 2023 never really happened. We saw transactions come down, but we didn't see prices come down. So looking forward into 2024, we're expecting a much better interest rate environment, which is going to put more upward pressure on prices. So, the interest rates have really been that hot button topic. Will they, won't they? When will they, when won't they come down? And playing the projection game has been tough, but we are starting to get really good indicators from the Fed that we should start seeing rate cuts throughout 2024.
What does that mean for me? If I'm looking to buy a house and I hear you say, hey, interest rates are starting to come down, what does that mean for me as a prospective home buyer?
That's an awesome question, and a question buyers should really be digging their teeth into. What we're talking about here is housing affordability, which is made up of kind of three key points: the interest rates, the home prices, and your income. If interest rates, we can get those lower, that makes housing affordability better. If you can make more money, that's great too. You can afford more house. Prices has kind of been, the flagship, and people think, oh, if only prices would come down, I could buy a house. But with these other indicators, these other things that make up housing affordability, you could still achieve home ownership in a more affordable way this year.
What should we expect from those interest rates, right? We're talking about them coming down. What exactly does that mean for houses that are going to be this much more affordable? Obviously, there's not a great metric that you can say, hey, it's this percentage. But what does that look like?
Actually, there's a great percentage we can give to it. I call it the 110 rule. For every 1% change in interest rate, it adds 10% of affordability to your purchasing power. So let's say you were looking at buying a $300,000 house, but interest rates have now come down a full percent. Well, now you could expect to buy a $330,000 house for the same payment, same out of pocket every month. It's kind of rough numbers, but it gives you a little bit of an idea.
So those interest rates expected to come down, you referred to prices as kind of that flagship, right? What people have been looking towards. Do we have any read on what that's going to be like in the year to come?
Yeah, everyone's very positive still on home prices because of the market dynamics. I mean, home prices still appreciated this last year by almost 8% just for Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is actually above the national average, which is a great sign for our market. But the market dynamics were really challenging in 2023. We saw only about 4 million homes sell across the United States. Now with interest rates improving, we're expecting 5 to 5.5 million home sales. So that more transactions, more pressure, more buyers is going to put pressure on those prices as well. So we expect more of the same in price appreciation, going forward. Really, the projections I've seen go about 5 years out, and we fall into a little bit more of a normal price appreciation range, the 5%, 6% range each year. But that's good news. We don't want to see the 16 to 20% price appreciation like we saw during the pandemic years. We want something that's a little more predictable, a little more knowable, a little more reasonable that, someone can buy a home, live there for the 5, 7, 10 years that's typical for a homeowner, build that equity over time, stay consistent, and then, cash out that investment when it is time to sell.
A stat that you just used and that you used in your video is the amount of homes that are being bought, the amount of homes being sold. What does that mean? When you look at that number, how many million it is from this year to the next, what does that tell you about the market?
Well, it's more important of a number to realtors. Like how many deals are there? How many deals are there for us to go help buyers and sellers achieve? I was really fortunate that I had my best year ever this last year in a market that for Fort Wayne, we were down 14% in transactions. So that's, for me, really feels really good and positive that I performed well in what we would consider a down market. But, the number of transactions, I guess, it kind of tells you, not that this is a good reason to do anything, but if everybody's doing it, why shouldn't I? So I think kind of the media presence, the media messaging over this last year was rates are crazy. hey, don't buy a home. And that reflected in the buyer's willingness to go pursue in the market. So now that we're expecting more normalized, that 5 to 5.5 million, which is in a little bit more of a normal spread for what we do in transactions every year, I think buyers are going to start maybe feeling a little bit of the relief of like, okay, I'm not crazy to go buy a house right now. Other people are doing it too.
So if the media message last year was crazy, don't buy a home, speaking with the media, what should the message be this year? Knowing what our interest rates are likely to do, knowing what these prices are likely to do.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to know, is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? They want the blanket answer. And the fact of the matter is, there's not one. Everyone is their own little snowflake. Your financial picture is its own snowflake. Your wants and your family's wants and needs and desires are its own other snowflake. The advice I would say is, you're not crazy to buy a home, but let's start the conversation as soon as possible so that you're as prepared as possible to make that dream a reality.
Yeah. Other key points you think in the forecast that you want to talk about? Interest rate was the big thing.
Interest rate's the big thing.
That's what I talked to you about last year.
Yeah.
Sure you've talked to a lot of people about that over the past year too. Anything else?
Let me look at a few numbers here because I just saw these numbers today. Fannie Mae just updated their mortgage rate projections for 2024, and they're pretty drastic changes. For the first quarter, they were expecting rates to still be at 7%. Well, we're below that already, and so they're expecting by end of quarter one to be 6.4%. And then the big number is by the end of quarter four, by the end of this year, they're projecting rates to be 5.8%. That's a huge number to get to. You know, I think we view things in kind of like these, you know, these kind of segments of like the 7% interest rate, the 6%. If rates get down to a 5% or starting with a 5, I think that makes a big difference for home sellers that maybe feel a little bit locked into their home because their interest rate is so good. Maybe they start to say, okay, we can make this move. We can make this happen. It's not unaffordable for us to achieve this move up home because our family's growing and we need to do that.
Yeah.
Rates, prices, those are kind of the key points I've been talking about right now.
Could you send me those
numbers?
Projections?
Yep.
I'd love to.
Yeah, because they even go out to 2025 as well too.
I'd love to show those on screen. And then are there? I know I watched the whole video. You took the average of a lot of things. Do you have those other?
Those slides. Yep.
Yeah, if you have the slide, the one just interest rates is kind of our focus at 6 today.
Okay.
That would be awesome. I'd love to show them.
I can do that.
All right.
Great, man. That was awesome.
Appreciate it.